All right, so we are now officially done with Michi's back checker strategy, and we're going to start on the book Master Class, it's called, written by Mark Olson and Mochi. We'll cover the first, and the way that it's done is that each of those two have written 2 chapters. And so there are essentially 4 chapters. We'll go over the first, today we'll start on the first section, which is written by Mochi. And it's one of the more interesting things that I've seen. It's and very well written. You know, one of the better things written that I've seen. It's the rest of the book I wouldn't say is as good, but this is very, very good. And so it's almost worth it for just to get this chapter. And so it covers and it picks up kind of where Michi left off. And actually there's a section in Michi's book, Opening Concepts, which covers it, but Michi didn't spend a lot of time with it. Karen has the book, which everyone can see.
I would just note that it's edited by Alec Barr. So Gary was talking about how well written it is. I think a lot of that maybe is attributable to Alec Barr, and he has been very interested in our backgammon concepts. I think he's attended in person once or twice, but he also looks at the YouTube videos. So Gary, quite a kudo to you.
Okay, well, hello, Alec, and good job on the book. Yeah, so again, Michi covered a section of it. Michi, I think, called it priming versus blissing, or something like that. So I'll introduce the basic concept. The basic concepts are fairly simple, and it's called strategic visualization. And it introduces kind of the next step up. When you look at Michi's proverbs and things like that, they're kind of more situational, and you look at clues and signs and things like that. This strategic visualization idea introduces the idea of what I've called game plan. So essentially, you want to look at the positions on the board and figure out what your best game plan is, and then also what your opponent's game plan is, and then act in accordance with the game plan. So, and a lot of the big checker errors that you make, or that I have made, so I assume everyone does the same thing, that when they make a mistake, is not understanding the right game plan. So beginners in particular will often race when they're behind. So to clear out like the 6-5, you clear from the back. But if you have a single checker in the back and you roll the 6-5 and you clear it, but you're 20 pips down in the race, that's basically suicide. So so this is the first book I think that we've gone over that covers this, the idea of getting the game plan. So we'll I have on the screen here a summary of the basic points that are being made, and they're fairly simple to see and to understand. Now, interpreting, of course, is the problem, and learning how to do it is the challenge. So we'll spend all our time doing that. But basically, the theoretical underpinnings of this are right here. That you can write them in one page. So let's go over them quickly. So the process is determining the priming or blitzing formation of you and your opponent, and this mostly applies to the early game, and to a lesser, but once you get into the middle or end game, you've got there are different game plans and different types of games that are there that will have different strategies and approaches. But this can apply more to the middle game as well. But generally, you can apply this early on. So you can determine whether you have a priming or blitzing formation for you and your opponent, and then based on that, you're going to determine your correct strategy, whether you have priming or blitzing and what your opponent has, and then you're going to make the best play that follows the strategy based on whatever's on the dice. An important thing here that is, a good basic idea to remember is that your dice and positions are going to tell you what to do and not your strategy. I used to have people come and before a match say, well, what's your strategy for this match? And you can't have a strategy for the match because you don't know what the positions are. So I guess the strategy is, well, I'm going to look at the position and that's going to tell me what to do. Hopefully. So as far as the tactical details, so there's two strategies that we're going to identify early on, and it's priming or blitzing. And so we've talked a little bit about that in Amichi's opening concepts and actually in back checker strategy. But we'll go through some examples here. But for the priming strategy, just so to jog our memory, is that your prime strategy, you don't have point stacks, whereas the blitzing strategy, you have stacked points. For blitzing, you have deep points. For priming, you do not have deep points. For priming, your spares are distributed well. In general blitzing, you're going to have deeper spares, and deep being generally stacked on the 6 point and usually the 8 as well. Okay, then based on that, again, with your priming and blitzing and what your opponent's doing, there's kind of this four boxes. So if you're priming and your opponent is also priming, you're going to want to do things like split your back checkers to go for the high anchor. Again, if you're facing a prime, you want to split. You split into the prime. If you're facing a blitz, you generally don't split into the blitz. If you have a prime strategy, you're going to try to make your own prime. So and one of the things you come up with is again, you got to look at both sides of the board. So your back checkers, you want to split into the prime, but you also want to make your own prime. So you have to decide what's best for the game plan. It's not always simple. For blitzing, you're not going to let's go ahead and so prime versus prime, you're going to make points, you're going to try to make your own prime, then you're going to split. If you're priming and your opponent is blitzing, you don't want to split into the blitz. That plays into your opponent's game plan. And any anchor is good. The blow anchors are okay. And then generally you're gonna want to slot to make your prime generally. If you're blitzing formation, you want to attack. So this is why if you're playing against the blitz, you don't split because you can't attack if you have a point. You can't be attacked, so you want to avoid attack. If you're blitzing, you're generally going to want to escape your back checkers. If you can't make a good blitzing move, then generally if you're blitzing too, you're probably ahead in the race. So you want to escape the back checkers, and that fits that strategy, kind of a racing strategy too. But generally, you're focused on priming versus blitzing rather than racing. Generally, you're not going to slot your points because if you're stacked, you can't make a point if you get hit. So blitzing versus blitzing, you want to attack and anchor whenever you can. And then you generally don't give up your anchor. You want to pursue the attack for the most part. Okay, so those are the general ideas. And again, they're fairly simple to see and understand. The implementation is not always easy, but we'll go over a bunch of them. So let's see what I have on the board. The first step. Yeah, okay, so let's just go over some and identify what we have, what our strategy here is. And we're looking at the bottom, white or yellow here. So what type of strategy do we have going here? Looks like we rolled double twos. Priming or blitzing? Those are basically your two choices.
We're priming.
We're priming. That's correct. And why? What tells you that?
Well, we're beginning to get points in a row. We've not gone very, very deep. There's strong potential to make a prime stronger.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
It's going to be hard to blitz because the opponent's got an anchor.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got just a checklist. We don't have stacked points. You know, we made the 4 point from the 6. So, you know, we just have spares, no stacks. We don't have deep points. Spares are well distributed. You know, we got here, here, and here. That's a priming strategy. That's a priming position.
Gary, can I interrupt you for 1 second? And ask
Sure.
a question? I'm a little bit confused because I've been told that generally speaking, when you're ahead in the race, you generally will have more of a blitzing structure, and when you're behind in the race, it will be easier to prime.
Yeah.
And here white is ahead in the race.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the answer to the thing to think about that one is that early on, in fact, I don't. Mochi rarely talks about the race in his chapter. Early on, you're not going to worry so much about the race. Early on, you're just focused on priming versus blitzing. The race comes into it, but it's secondary. Now later, sort of in the middle game, when you have when these are more developed, then you're gonna, you know, then that will come more into play, and yeah, you know, priming, and you know, in prime versus prime situations, being behind in the race is generally to your advantage because it gives you more time and you can keep your prime longer. Whereas if you're, you know, if you're up, that means you're running out of timing and you're gonna have to either break your anchor and then get attacked, or break your prime, which weakens your position. But early on, it's not as important. And you know, and also this is kind of an artificial situation. Black hasn't moved yet, and white's has rolled double 2. So this is mostly just to show you the position, to show you what a priming position looks like. But we'll get into, you know, decisions to make in a bit. What's this position? Is this priming or is this blitzing?
Still priming.
Like priming.
Yeah, still priming. Again, you know, points are not stacked. We don't have any deep points. Spares, we have spares well distributed. It's you know, clearly priming. Let's go into and now what do we have?
We're blitzing, particularly because having made our ace point, it's going to be very difficult to complete a prime.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, yeah. Go ahead.
Our opponents are on the bar.
Yeah. Yeah, the priming here, no, typically we think of early on, we think of priming as having stacked, I'm sorry, as blitzing as having stacked 6 and 8 points. In this case, we rolled double 5s, looks like, and then we made the deep point. So if you've made a deep point, you're kind of, well, if you've made a deep point, you really can't prime, you know, because if if you make the ace point, you know, the only checker that's, you know, in front of you is on the bar, and that's, you know, that's blitzing. So, and if black comes in, then that, you know, this ace point can't prime anything. And if you've used, you know, some checkers to make the ace point, you really don't have enough the checkers you have to really do an effective prime. So, you know, in this case, it's the deep points that give it away. You know, we have the deep points, and so, you know, we're blitzing here. Another situation, and what is this?
Blitz.
Yeah, and why? What tells you that?
Because you're 6 points stacked
Yeah,
and you have 5, 8, 9, 10 checkers on your side.
yeah. Yeah, so it's but the key is the 6 point is stacked, And so you have a stack there. The 8 really isn't stacked, but that's the key feature. Now the 3-point is generally early on you consider that a deep point. I've come to situations where that's kind of fuzzy because you can still prime with the 3-point. It's just harder. Early, if you get it early on, that's generally going to be a blitzing structure. But it's the 3-point is odd. It's like the butterfly anchor on that Amishi talked about. It's kind of a hybrid. It's if you make the 2-point like with a 6-4 opening, you're definitely in a blitzing strategy. If you make the 4-point or the 5-point, you're definitely in a priming position. If you make the 3-point, and by default, you can start off with it is a blitzing position, but sometimes later in the game, that's not necessarily is definitive.
So Gary, if this is the blitzing position, then how do you play this? You tell me we don't make the bar point?
Well, okay, yeah. The point of this example was not what the role, because black hasn't moved yet. It's just identifying position.
Okay.
But here, to answer your question, well, I think you'd still make the bar point here. It's still, the idea here is, okay, what's your best game plan here, and how does you're blitzing. So ordinarily you wouldn't want to make the blitz, but your alternatives that if you're blitzing, you want to attack if possible. So, but you can't because black has not split, so there's nothing to attack. You want to escape your back checkers. Well, you could do that, but there's no reason. You can bring extra ammunition down to make a point, and so that's the best utilization for that. So,
the lesser of all evils there.
You still have to do whatever's best, whatever the best move your dice give you. I think we have an example here where there is a position I think where 6-1 was you had a chance to make the bar point, but that wouldn't be the right move. So we'll get into that and look at specifically why that wasn't usual. But here I think you make the bar point here, but okay. But that's not the point of this example. The point of this example is that get a sense of what's again the process. The first step of the process is, okay, are we priming or blitzing? Is our opponent priming or blitzing? And that's the first thing to identify. And so you have to, and these are really kind of subtle things, because it's hard to say that this is that you really have an effective blitz here just because you made the 3-point. But it's not the point. It's the point is this is your best game plan from this position is to blitz if you can. You have to get the dice to do that, but that's what you should be looking for. Okay, let's get into some more examples here. And step one. So we have 6-5 to play. Step one of the process is what's our position? What's our formation, I guess is the right term to use. What's our formation and what's our opponent's formation? So first step is what's our formation? Is it blitzing or priming?
Priming.
Yeah, priming. We made a point. We're not stacked. We didn't make a deep point. I wouldn't say spares are well distributed, but it's only the second roll. But we make the 5-point. We have a good chance to make a prime. We just get the bar point, and then we can make either the 4 or the 9, and we're well on our way to a prime. What about black?
Blitzing.
Yeah, black is blitzing. He rolled double 5s. He made early on the 3-point is going to be considered a deep point. He stacked on the 6. He's got the spares are fine, but in any case he's blitzing. So we had the 6-5 to play. Now what do we do with the 6-5? Well, obviously you come out and run, right? Because that's what everyone does with the 6-5 early on.
Well, if you don't do that, you'll bring 2 off off the midpoint, and then you'd be a bit risky, but you're slotting a prime point.
Yeah,
I must
Well-
admit, I'd still run.
yeah, it would be very hard, it's very hard not to run out like that. And it's not terrible to do that. But the right play is, we're priming, we have a priming position, our opponent has a blitzing position. Let's advance our prime. And we do that by bringing two down to bring a spare and to slot the point that we want to make. And not run out and, not giving up our anchor, basically, even though it's only the ace point, we don't want to give up our anchor. Now, it's hard to say, this is more surprising to me than effective strategy. If you would come out, which I think most people would do, and I would have to catch myself to not do this, to not come out, because that's almost such an automatic play. But ordinarily this is by far the best play. Here it's a small error, and it's just it shows the kind of the effectiveness of this type of strategy, of this type of approach. Know your game plan, and it will get you to the right place. And so the 6-5 running out is kind of against the game plan, and that's why it's not not the best play. It was ordinarily it is the right play. Okay. Now what about this one?
Well, this is quite
13, 8,
easy.
6, 5. Set
Yeah,
up your
well, first thing, well, it's the same as the other one. So we're priming, we're in a priming formation, our opponent's a blitzing formation. So 13 to 8. 13 to 8 should be the first thing. Typically, if you got a 5, your point is stripped early on, you're going to come 13 to 8, unless you can hit or do something like that. And so then the question is, well, do you split or not? And so, and often these, the priming versus blitzing formation, in fact, Mishi introduced it as a kind of the answer to a splitting question frequently, and usually it is the answer to a splitting question. So, here we come down now with the ace. Do we want to split, or do we want to go 6 to 5?
6, 5.
Yeah, and it is 6-5, and from which we would have done through Mishi's rule, the splitting rules. Black has 10 checkers in the zone, and you generally don't want to split with 10 checkers in the zone. Black has not split. All these things indicate that you should have split. Here, though, the idea is that we're facing a blitzing formation. We don't split into the blitz. And so 6 to 5 coming down is the right move. Okay. So again, the idea here is identify the formations, and then what's the play that suits the strategy based on the formation.
Our opponent is obviously priming.
Good. What are we doing?
So our opponent is obviously priming,
Yeah, he's priming.
and if we're doing anything, we're blitzing.
Yeah, we're blitzing, and again, since we're introducing this, how do we know we're blitzing?
Back them 2 points, 3 points.
Yeah, we've made it a deep point. Again, early on, this is considered a deep point for this purpose. We're stacked here. 8 points really isn't stacked, but we have a stack and a deep point that indicates that we're blitzing. And then black, no stacked points, no deep points, well distributed spares, and a start of a prime here. This is also part of a prime, but the 11 point really can't be much of isn't going to be much of a prime. yeah, as a spare, it's well distributed. So yeah, we're blitzing. Our opponent is priming. What do we want to do?
Whack them twice.
I'd be,
I'm sorry, what did you say, Nana?
Whack them twice.
Yeah,
No,
we could hit twice.
I don't
and-
think that would be the right move.
Yeah.
Like 6-4 and 13-10.
I'd
Yeah,
go
okay.
6-4
Now
and
that's- now
24-21.
What, and Charlie, why are you saying that?
Because I was taking a backgammon galaxy quiz and it said, don't just leave it on the 4 so you could make that point if you don't get hit coming.
Well,
Coming
okay,
back.
that's a good question. There's, for purposes of this book, Mochi tried to simplify it to get you the idea. But there are other concepts involved too. A lot of the Michi talked about, and so Michi would have talked about this. We did talk about this, and this is the question of the tiger play. Do you want to do the tiger play here? And do you remember what the criterion was for the tiger play? The double hit like this.
4 open spots in the opponent's
Well,
board.
okay, I don't want to. The what I'm thinking of, and it's frequently, is attacking with 10 checkers is strong, attacking with 8 is weak. So here we've got 10 checkers in the zone, and the answer is the attack, because we've got 10. That's a strong. Now, probably Charlie, what you were thinking of is in this position, which I don't know. Black, it's an artificial position because it would never happen, but oh, here it's the attack and the split. Yeah, and here, you're splitting because you're splitting into a prime. This is actually different. You're probably splitting more for tempo, or you're attacking more for tempo, and you're splitting into the prime. But the point here is that you don't attack here with a double hit because you only have 8 checkers in the zone, and so you split here. Here's typically. If black has something like this, black rolls a 4-3. Oh, this is still an artificial. Oh, here we go. A 4-3 splits. You roll a 2-3. You don't have 10 in a zone, so okay, you split or you bring one down. So you don't hit twice because you don't have 10 in the zone. You attacking with 8 is weak. Attacking with 10 is strong. Here now, back to the original position we looked at. Here we've got 10 in the zone. And so the answer is to hit twice. And just going back to the strategy, so okay, so we're blitzing, our opponent is priming. So it's this section here. So it's attack if possible. Is the key thing here. Here we can attack with 2. We've got the checkers in the zone. We don't allow our opponent to prime. It's not entirely clear. Here's the second play where we hit once and come back. Again, our opponent is priming, so we want to split into that prime. Hitting gives us a tempo for that. So but we've got 10 in the zone, so that's the best play. This isn't bad because we are splitting against the prime.
Well, I'm very surprised that's not the best play. Hit and split. That would exactly what I would have done. Yeah.
And then this is the third play. Again, we've got the checkers in the zone already, so we don't, it never hurts to bring another one down, but now we're stripping our midpoint. There's a problem there. We're playing against the prime, so we would, if we're only going to hit once, we would rather split. So, these, I find these rules helpful. I think there's some people that I've heard Mark Olson talk about. There was a quiz that went out recently on opening moves and very difficult opening moves, and he only referenced, if I remember correctly, the priming versus blitzing strategy. He dig way deep into that. I still think mostly in terms of Michi's opening proverbs. But I find that this priming versus listening is also a helpful explanation and often gives you the key if you've got another, a number of different proverbs that seem to contradict each other.
Gary,
Yeah,
if I can say something, one of the lines said, "Do not slot." Okay, so the thing I can figure out is that when we are blitzing, we don't want to be hit, because if we do get hit, we're gonna lose half a roll, we're gonna get a checker back, we're gonna lose the attack
yeah,
character of the blitz. So by hitting twice here, we're only hit back with ones.
Yeah.
If we do any other play, we'll be hit back with fours and probably threes. So
Yeah.
we're increasing the hitting chances of our opponent a lot. So that's
Yeah.
something else I think has to be taken into consideration.
Yep. Yeah, and generally it's right if you can hit twice to hit twice. Because you're there, if you just hit here and leave the blot on the 4 point, you've got fours coming in. So you had 11 of those, and then you've got double twos, and you got 1-3, 2-3, and 5-3. So that's a lot of hit items. Where if you just come in on the ace, hit with 2 on the bar, you only have the 1, so you have 11 that hit back. So that's it's frequently right to hit twice. When you have the opportunity like this, but again, it's also Michi's proverb of 10 in the zone is attacking with 10 is strong and 8 is weak. So you want checkers in the zone to be able to follow up on the attack when you're doing that. But again, all these things, these are ideas that come into play, and the difficulty is weighing one against the other. There are a lot of good reasons. Hitting, you want to hit this because you want to fight for the good point. But if you then leave it, you're not really fighting for the good point. You're because you've left it. So that's another idea that's important. But again, with 10 checkers in the zone, the tiger play is better. And if you take these away, it's the single hit is better rather than the tiger play. So it's those combination of factors that you've got to kind of integrate into your thinking, and they make it challenging here. Okay, let's look at another variation. 6-5. Okay, so what do we do here? This is the same, again, same formation. We are in a blitzing strategy. Our opponent is in a blitzing formation. Our black is in a priming formation. We have 6-5 to play. What do we do here?
You run.
Run off the midpoint and hit loose.
Come off. 13-6, 6-1.
13-7, 6-1.
13-7, yes, thanks. Sorry, yeah, 6-1. Okay, yeah. So that would be attack. So let's look at it. We're blitzing, our opponent's priming. You got attack if possible. So Nano's come up with a way to attack. Escape checkers, back checkers if attack is not possible, and do not slot. So we have two options here. We can attack, we can attack, and we can escape the back checker pretty cleanly here. So which is better?
Gonna be a close one.
Yeah. Well, it's not that close, it turns out. The problem with this play, and this is the second best play, so actually no, I was coming out and down. That's interesting. I think this was Nano's play. So this is the attack. But look at look at the what are the drawbacks to this attack?
Yeah, you give up too many return shots.
Yeah, you're giving up, it's there are a lot of return shots, direct ones, 7 from the bar, or any 3. And then, 1-3 is a double hit.
And you unstack the midpoint. And you
Yeah.
strip the midpoint as well.
You strip the midpoint, yeah. Another thing, and I just said, early on the racing isn't that important, but look at our race. We're up 19. Now, this is kind of an artificial position because, somehow, two of Black's checkers that were on the 6 got in and came around. So I'm not sure how that happened, but White's up 19 pips already, and we got 11. We're going to be up 30 pips after the roll. By attacking in this way, we're giving our opponent a chance to get back in the race. So all those are going to point toward, we can't really attack here cleanly, and we have a good play that escapes the back checker, so let's escape the back checker. And yeah, interesting position. So okay, let's do the last 2 for today. Okay, so what do we've got going on? So what's the first step? Who's priming? Who's blitzing?
We're priming, he's blitzing.
Exactly, yeah. We made this point. We've unstacked. No deep points, so we're priming. Black has made a deep point, at least 3 point for early on, and it has 2 stacks. So Black is blitzing. So again, with a 5, it's almost 13-8, particularly when we're stripped here. And what do we do with the ace?
Slap the 5 point.
Yeah, we slot the 5. We do not split into the blitzing formation, and so we're going to slot the 5. That and that goes into our game plan of priming. We can slot the we slot a point that we want to make. We could also slot the bar point, but the 5 point is better, and also we have more spares to cover the 5 point if we do that. And the second choice is to split, I guess, actually. But again, if we just go by the Michi splitting Michi splitting rules, Black has 10 in the zone, so don't split. No stripped point, and again, this stack points is the blitzing formation. Don't split into that. Okay, last one for today. So again, same formation. We're priming. Black is blitzing, but the 6-5 to play. And so, first of all, what are the 2 options that you have? Whether they're realistic? I guess maybe there are 3, but
we either run or bring 2 down.
yeah, it's run or bring 2 down. Now you could.
Well, I suppose it could split. But
you could do this.
Yeah.
That
doesn't look too bad, really.
So what do we think?
I like running here, but still, if you run, you're going to stack that midpoint. And
Yeah.
we can avoid that at this point. Controlling the midpoint is going to come into play here sooner or later.
Yeah.
You don't want to stack it, but don't know. Maybe the split 24-18, 13-8. It's hard to not.
Let's look at the answer and then we'll tell. It actually is running. 2 down is second. This one, I'm surprised that this is as good as it is, because it just you're splitting into a prime with these stacked points, you're splitting into two stacked points. Generally, if you've got two spares on the 8 point, you're gonna want to run past that rather than slot here. You know, that's like if you got a 6-2 or 6-3, you know, you're gonna run past rather than up and down. So I'm surprised that is, but it is running out here. And this is sort of it seems to go against the strategy that you would tell, because we are behind in the race, which again is not a big feature of the strategy, but it's still such a safe position that it beats the two down, which seems to be more appropriate for your priming strategy. But in any case, and this position is one actually that I found, it's not in Mochi's book. So but there are exceptions, I guess, and I guess the idea is there's nothing that seems to be foolproof here.
Yeah,
Actually,
those
this
last
is
two
probably wrong.
plays, those last two plays running, even though it kind of goes against the strategy we talked about, seems to be
Yeah.
the safest play. So I guess sometimes it's right to run.
But
Yeah.
Mark, Gary, I'm not sure it is going against the strategy, because the other facet of the strategy is you don't split into a blitz. And if you play 24-18 and then 13-8, you're splitting into a blitz. So you have to kind of eliminate that. That not playing 24-18 would be part of the strategy, because you're not supposed to split into a blitz.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you
But
do
it-
if it?
Go
What
ahead,
would
John.
you do if it was a 6-4 roll?
Good question. Let's see. We've got a blitz and we're prime. So yeah, with the 6-4, you come up and come down. That's sort of splitting into the blitz. You could make the 2 point. But what is making the 2 point?
It's breaking up that 8 point.
Well, yeah, but yeah, you're now making a deep point. So if your strategy was priming, oops. Making the 2 point is not part of your prime. And then running out. So I guess
Interesting to think about two down.
2 down, okay.
It's pretty loose.
That seems to serve the game plan. In that you're sliding a point that you want to make. That's part of the prime, and you're bringing checkers in to help make the prime. And the answer is, I don't know. I think that I would probably run with this. Let me see what anyone else want to have a suggestion?
I would run.
You'd run, Charlie?
I think so.
Yeah.
24-14.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it is right to run. This isn't bad. The split's not bad. 2 down isn't bad. Even this isn't terrible, but it goes against the strategy. So yeah. So yeah, I mean these are tough positions because they don't necessarily fall neatly into the framework that we're developing here. Okay, so that's that for this lesson. Let me stop the recording.